Welcome back to the deep dive. I want you to take a second and just, look at your surroundings.
Mhm.
Look at the table in front of you or the phone in your hand or the road stretching out if you're driving. It all looks incredibly solid, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah.
It feels strictly here and now.
It is the most convincing illusion there is. I mean, the solidity of the physical world, it's the ultimate magic trick.
And usually when we do these deep dives, we're looking at data that helps us understand that illusion from the inside history, psychology, tech. But today
Is different.
we are looking at a source that claims to be speaking from outside the illusion entirely.
Which puts us in a very different territory. I mean, we aren't just analyzing a biography or a historical text. We are analyzing a transmission.
Exactly. And we are opening up the archives to a specific session that I think perfectly captures the vibe we're going for today. So imagine you're sitting by a crackling fire.
Okay, I'm there.
Late at night, the wind is howling a bit outside.
Mhm.
You're feeling that specific kind of good, spooky, you know what I mean?
I do.
Like, you're ready to hear a ghost story, but you're also ready to laugh at how just absurd the universe can be.
That is a very, very fitting atmosphere for this specific record. It really does straddle the line between this high concept metaphysics and what is essentially a workplace comedy in the spirit realm.
Workplace comedy with ghosts. I love that.
Right.
So let's get the specifics out of the way so everyone knows what we're looking at.
Right.
We are diving into session 111 of the early sessions, book 3 of the Seth material.
And the date of record here is November 30th, 1964.
1964. Wow. So, the Beatles are topping the charts, the Cold War is freezing over, and in Elmira, New York, a writer named Jane Roberts and her husband Robert Butts are sitting in their living room,
Yeah.
waiting for a disembodied personality named Seth to explain the structure of the universe.
And, before we go any further into the multidimensional physics or the spectral pranks, and there are pranks, we should probably state for the record.
Yes, absolutely. This podcast will be distributed free of charge on all major platforms for educational purposes.
There we go.
Right. We are here to learn, to explore, and frankly, to have our minds blown a little bit. Because our mission today is threefold, pun intended, as you'll see later.
Chuckles. I see what you did there.
We're going to unpack Seth's concept of the threefold universal fields. We're going to analyze a cosmic prank played on the medium.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, and this is my favorite part,
Mm-hmm.
we're going to discuss a vision of a floating hamburger.
Which is, and you're going to laugh, surprisingly one of the most mechanically important parts of the data.
I still can't believe we're doing a deep dive on a spectral hamburger, but we'll get there.
Yeah.
Let's start with the drama, because even in the world of channeling and esoteric philosophy, there is drama.
There is always drama when personalities are involved, regardless of whether they have physical bodies or not. It doesn't matter.
So, set the scene for me. It's 2 days prior to our main session. It's a Saturday night. Jane and Rob, that's her husband, they decide to hold a session.
Right.
They're expecting Seth, their usual guide, the energy personality essence they've been talking to. So they turn down the lights. Rob has his pen ready to take notes.
Mm-hmm.
But Seth doesn't show up.
Well, someone shows up, but it isn't Seth.
Right. Jane goes into a trance, but the voice is different. The personality is different. Rob, in his notes, calls him the nameless spokesman.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently this guy was a total bore.
It was a deeply frustrating experience for them. You have to remember, at this point in 1964, they are treating this like a job. They show up to work.
Right.
And Rob is trying to ask these big questions about the nature of reality, and this new entity is just stonewalling him.
This is nothing.
Giving him absolutely nothing, just vagueness, silence. They were getting so annoyed.
It sounds like calling customer service and getting the trainee who isn't allowed to authorize a refund.
That is a remarkably accurate comparison. And they were worried, Was something blocking Seth? Was this some kind of negative entity intruding on their connection? It just felt like a huge waste of time.
So Monday night rolls around. That's session 111, the one we are looking at today. And Rob is ready to demand answers. He basically comes in hot. Hey, what happened Saturday? Who was that guy?
And Seth's explanation is, frankly, it's hilarious. It completely upends the traditional, solemn view of spirit guides.
Oh, yeah.
Usually we think of these entities as these somber, all-knowing sages who are just like floating around in robes.
Right, speaking in riddles and telling you to follow the light.
Exactly. And Seth comes through and essentially says, oh, Saturday, that was just my buddy. It was a joke.
It's a prank. It is literally a cosmic prank.
It is. Listen to this quote from Seth in the session. He says, my friend's manner was meant as a gentle reprimand to me and as a joke between us.
A gentle reprimand.
Yeah, and then he says, I did not want him coming in as a substitute teacher and with all good intentions in the world causing any misunderstandings in my class.
Substitute teacher. That phrase kills me.
Yeah.
He actually calls himself a teacher and his friend a sub.
It reframes the entire relationship, doesn't it? Seth views Jane and Rob, and by extension, anyone reading the material as his class.
Mm-hmm.
And like any professor who is very particular about his curriculum, he did not want a substitute coming in and teaching the wrong material or, confusing the students.
That's so relatable. You know that teacher in high school who has a very specific way of explaining calculus, and they're terrified that if they take a sick day, the sub is going to come in and teach new math and ruin the whole semester.
Exactly. Seth even says, I told him that I did not want him to confuse you or to discuss matters being covered in our material. So the friend, having a bit of a laugh, decided to take that instruction literally.
Oh my God.
He showed up, but he refused to say anything of substance. It was malicious compliance.
Malicious compliance in the afterlife? Oh, you don't want me to say anything wrong? Fine, I won't say anything at all.
Pretty much. And he did it to gently reprimand Seth. It suggests that maybe Seth was being a little too controlling, a little too much of a helicopter professor. And his friend was just poking fun at that rigidity.
I just love the image of this. In the non-physical reality, you have these highly evolved consciousnesses, and they're engaged in banter. They're trolling each other.
It humanizes the source material in such a profound way. It suggests that personality and humor and even a sense of professional possessiveness, it all continues beyond physical existence.
Right.
It's not just a void of pure light and seriousness. There's actual social interaction.
And it also shows a protective side of Seth.
Yeah.
Right. He says he didn't want misunderstandings in my class. He cares about the clarity of the information. He didn't want Rob and Jane getting confused by a different perspective before they were ready for it.
Which is a very valid concern. I mean, if you are building a complex metaphysical framework, which Seth definitely is, introducing a second architect halfway through the foundation pouring could be disastrous. You need consistency.
So the nameless folksman wasn't a demon. He wasn't some kind of blockage.
No.
He was just a substitute teacher who was told to sit there and keep quiet.
And he obeyed. Perhaps a little too well.
Okay, so that sets the tone. We aren't dealing with some scary doom and gloom scenario here. We are dealing with personalities. But now, Seth pivots. He's cleared up the gossip. He's had his laugh. And now he puts his professor glasses back on.
And this is where we shift from the workplace comedy to what is essentially quantum mechanics 401.
The threefold universal fields. This is the real meat of the session. Seth starts laying out the map of reality. And it's not just here and there. It's a triad. And I have to be honest, I had to read this section 3 times.
It is dense. It requires a completely different way of thinking about space and, well, everything.
So let's try to break it down. Seth introduces 3 distinct universes or fields that all interact with each other. First, we have what we all know.
Right.
The universe of matter.
That's us. That's the table, the microphone, the coffee, the physical body. It's the camouflage we are currently wearing.
Got it. Okay, so number 2 is what he calls the universe of negative matter. Now, wait a second. When he says negative matter, he's talking about antimatter in the sci-fi sense, like don't touch it or the ship will explode.
It's a common confusion, but no, that's not it. He's not talking about explosive particles. You should think of negative more in the sense of a photograph negative.
Okay, so like the reverse image, where the light parts are dark.
Precisely. In a photo negative, the light areas are dark and the dark areas are light. It's the structural inverse. Seth is describing a field that contains the mold or the probability structure for physical matter.
The mold.
It's the invisible framework that supports the visible world.
So it's like the blueprint that exists in that negative space.
Correct. And then the third field is the dream universe.
Matter, negative matter, and dream. The big 3.
And the crucial point Seth makes here, and this is where people, I think, get tripped up, is that these aren't separate sealed boxes. They are not stacked like pancakes where you live in one and visit the others. They are overlapping fields.
They're all right here, right now, in this room.
Yes. And here is the key concept. An action. A fundamental event or impulse occurs simultaneously in all 3 fields.
Okay, let's slow that down simultaneously because my brain and probably your brain and everyone listening wants to think linearly.
Yeah.
I do something here and then it echoes in the dream world. Or I dream something and then it happens here.
Right.
But Seth is saying that's wrong.
That is the linear trap. Seth
Yeah.
is saying that the action is the root event. It just happens. But because these three universes have different structures, different rules, different camouflages, that single action looks completely different in each one.
He uses a really cool analogy here, the idea of refraction.
Yes. Think of a stick. If you hold a straight stick in the air, it looks straight,
Right.
simple enough. But if you plunge that stick halfway into a pool of water, the part under the water looks bent. It looks broken or distorted.
But the stick itself isn't bent, it's just an illusion.
Exactly. The stick is the action. The air is, say, the universe of matter. The water is the dream universe. The stick exists in both mediums simultaneously, but the medium, the water, or the air distorts your perception of it.
So let's try to apply this. If I have a strong emotion, say a sudden flash of fear, that's the action.
Okay.
In the physical world, maybe that action looks like my heart racing or my palms sweating. In the dream universe, that same action might look like a monster chasing me or falling.
Precisely. It's the same energy interpreted through a different lens. Seth puts it this way, and I'm quoting here. An action may occur, therefore, in the world of matter and be perceived in both the universe of negative matter and the dream world. But in such a case, each universe interprets the action according to and within its own framework of reference.
Framework of reference. That's the key. We are locked in our framework.
Yeah.
We think the stick is bent because we are looking at it through the water. We take the distortion as reality.
And this leads to a really fascinating point about time. This was the part that really made it click for me. Seth mentions that we often perceive a time lapse.
Right. I was going to ask about that. Like you dream about a car crash and then 3 days later you see a car crash.
Yeah.
We call that precognition or prophecy.
Yeah.
We think, oh, the dream predicted the future.
But Seth suggests that this time lapse is just another distortion. It's a refraction error. The event happened simultaneously in both fields, but think about the density of physical reality. Matter is heavy, it's slow, it resists change.
It's like molasses compared to air.
It's thick, exactly. The dream universe is incredibly fluid, it has very low resistance, so the action registers there instantly. You perceive it in the dream immediately. But in the physical universe, it takes time for that energy to push through all that density and manifest as a physical event.
Whoa, okay, so precognition isn't seeing the future. It's just seeing the present in a faster medium before it has time to slog its way into our slower medium.
That is a very, very good way to put it. The time lapse is an illusion caused by the difference in density between the universes. Seth calls these distortive effects.
That makes me rethink every coincidence I've ever had. It's not magic, it's just latency. It's lag. Physical reality has high ping.
In a way, yes. Physical reality has incredible lag. The dream universe has near zero latency, so you experience the action there instantly, and then you sit around waiting for the physical download to complete.
And while we're waiting, we create these narratives. Oh, it's destiny. Oh, it's a warning. But really, it's just the same event filtering through different layers at different speeds.
And Seth warns us about that. He says, such distortions are often correlated within a given system and accepted as a foundation for the nature of reality.
Wow.
We build our entire understanding of cause and effect on what is essentially an optical illusion.
We're building our entire system of physics on a bent stick.
Exactly. And he says this, which is key. Only an observer from without the three-field system of universes could judge that one action, and not three, had occurred.
That is so humbling. We think we see 3 different things happening, a dream, a feeling, an event, but a higher perspective sees just one thing. It really drives home how limited our physical senses are. We are seeing reflections and refractions and calling them facts.
And it connects back to the idea of the substitute teacher, doesn't it?
How so?
Seth wants his class to understand the mechanism behind the magic. He doesn't want us to just be awed by the supernatural. He wants us to understand the mechanics of it. He's teaching physics.
He's stripping away the woo-woo.
Yeah.
He's saying, look, this is just mechanics. Multidimensional mechanics, sure, but mechanics.
And just when you think you have a handle on that, just when you think, okay, I get it, I'm the observer, I'm looking at the stick, Seth flips the script entirely.
Oh, this is the part that gave me actual goosebumps.
Yeah?
The chilling part of this session. Segment 3. The Dream World Watches Back.
It sounds like a horror movie title, but it's actually a metaphysical mic drop.
It is. I wrote in my notes, the eye in the sky. Because Seth begins to discuss how we study dreams, we interpret them, we analyze the symbols, we treat the dream world as this passive thing that happens inside our heads.
Right. It's my dream. I created it. It's my subconscious taking out the trash. That's the standard psychological model.
But Seth says, We shall look in from the other side, for there is a looking in also from the other side.
There is a looking in also from the other side. That line just stops me in my tracks every time I read it.
And he goes on, it is also true that the dream universe is at least as familiar with your own universe as you are familiar with it. And then he adds, so does the dream universe tune in on you.
So, while I'm awake, walking around, doing my job, paying my taxes, something in the dream universe is watching me, studying me.
Not just studying, tuning in. Just as we tune into our dreams to understand our psyche, the inhabitants or the consciousness of the dream universe tunes into us.
That reverses the polarity completely. We usually think we are the real people and the dream characters are the fake people, the projections.
Right.
But Seth is implying a symmetry. It's a two-way street.
He takes it even further. This is the part that challenges the ego most deeply. He suggests that from the perspective of the dream universe, we might be the byproduct.
The byproducts, like
Right.
waste heat, or a side effect of their reality.
Or a creation, he says. So is your survival dependent upon its survival? And so does it create you as a byproduct if you are looking at your universe from the other side?
That is the Matrix moment. That is the inception moment. Are we the dream of a dreamer?
It forces us to question the primacy of physical matter. We assume matter is the bedrock and dreams are the wispy vapor that rises off of it. Seth is suggesting that perhaps the dream universe is the bedrock, and physical matter is just the hardened crust on top.
Or that they are mutually creating each other. He does say, you are necessary for its survival, creating it. So is your survival dependent upon its survival. It sounds like a feedback loop.
A symbiotic relationship between realities. We create dreams. Dreams create us. We sustain them, they sustain us.
It makes you feel a little less lonely, doesn't it? But also a little more exposed.
Exposed is the right word. We like to think our physical lives are private until we choose to share them on Instagram or whatever. But if the dream universe is tuning in, then we are constantly being observed, or at least perceived, by a level of reality we usually just ignore.
It's like discovering your mirror is actually a window.
That is a perfect analogy. And remember, Seth says the fifth dimension is truly transparent. The barriers we see, the walls between sleeping and waking, are camouflage. They aren't really there.
So just think about what they must see. If they are in a universe of instant thought manifestation looking at us,
They're seeing us stumbling around in this dense medium. They probably think we are the slow ones. We're the ghosts.
to a being in a universe of instant manifestation, our lives, where you have to work for years to build a house or drive for hours to see a friend, must seem excruciatingly, painfully slow.
We are living in the slow motion replay.
It really puts our struggles in perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the frustration we feel with physical reality, the fact that things take so long, is because part of us remembers the speed of the other side.
So we have the substitute teacher prank, which is funny. We have the threefold universe, which is super technical. And then we have the dream world watches back, which is existentially chilling.
It's a lot to take in one session.
It is. And I think that's why what happens next is so important, because if you stay in that are we just a dream headspace for too long, you detach, you just float away. You need something to ground you.
You need a hamburger.
You need a hamburger. This is segment 4, housekeeping and hamburgers.
Before we get to the burger, which is delightful, there is a tiny bit of housekeeping that I find really interesting because it shows Seth's fallibility, or rather, his willingness to correct himself.
Right. At the start of the session, Seth corrects a date. In a previous session, he had said he lived in Denmark in 1486. In this session, he comes back and says, actually, it was the 1500s, not the 1400s.
It seems like such a minor point, but it's significant. Many skeptics think that if a channeler is real, they must be omniscient. They must never make a mistake. If they get a date wrong, the skeptic says, see, it's all fake.
But Seth is presenting himself as a personality who is distinct from Jane and who is accessing records. Sometimes, like any of us, he misreads a number or just slips up.
The fact that he comes back and corrects it adds to the credibility for me. It shows a desire for accuracy, not just a performance. It's like he checked his own Wikipedia page and said, whoops, typo.
Essentially. And then he moves on to psychological time, or side time. This is the trance exercise Jean was practicing. She'd been limited to 15 minutes a day, right?
Yes. Seth was very, very careful with her development. He didn't want her burning out or going too far too fast. But in this session, he gives her permission to extend it to 30 minutes.
And he talks about creative chaos here. I love that phrase.
It's a beautiful concept. He says, the inwardness or inward energy which forms all these systems ever creates new outlets, that result in creative chaos, a lack of temporary balance which is then balanced.
So innovation comes from chaos. You have to disrupt the balance to create something new.
And that's what Psi Time is for Jane. It's a disruption of her normal consciousness to allow these new insights to bubble up. And on December 2nd, 2 days after this session, she uses that extra time. She goes into a deep trance. She feels herself leaving her body.
She says she glided to a white table. This sounds so profound. You know, she's approaching the altar of knowledge. She's about to see the secrets of the universe.
And on the table is a hamburger.
Single hamburger. And she notes specifically that it was thin-looking.
The sandwich wasn't very thick-looking. That detail is fantastic.
I just love the juxtaposition. We just spent an hour discussing the refraction of time, the multidimensional nature of action, the dream universe watching us.
Right.
And then Jane travels out of her body to inspect a mediocre sandwich.
But this is why the Seth material is so durable. And I think we can actually connect this back to the whole refraction theory we talked about earlier.
Oh, really? How?
Well, think about it. Jane was in a deep trance state. She was contacting an action or an energy in that other field, but her physical brain needs to translate that energy into something recognizable.
So the sticks was the raw energy, but the water, her mind refracted it into the image of a hamburger.
Exactly. Maybe the energy she encountered represented sustenance. Maybe it represented desire or the mundane nature of matter. But her brain, scrambling for a symbol, just grabbed the nearest thing it could find, lunch.
So the fact that she saw a hamburger doesn't mean the experience was fake. It means the translation software in her brain was working hard.
Yes. If she were faking this, if she were trying to sound spiritual, she would have seen a golden chalice. She would have seen a dove, a glowing book of wisdom.
You don't make up a thin hamburger if you're trying to start a cult.
No. You report what you see. And Seth, and the expert view here, would say that even in deep trance, the mind translates this raw energy into symbols it understands. It validates the experience as honest.
And it reminds us that high-level consciousness work doesn't stop you from being human. You're still a perhu who gets hungry and eats lunch. The profound and the mundane exist side by side.
It's not one or the other, it's both.
It's the threefold universal fields and the thin sandwich.
And that makes it approachable. It makes it real.
So what does this all mean for us? For you, listening by that fire?
I think it means we should take our reality seriously, but not too seriously. We're part of this massive, interconnected system. Our actions echo in dreams. Dreams echo in our days. But we are also allowed to laugh at it. We're allowed to see the humor in the substitute teacher moments of life.
And we should remember that our perspective is limited. We're looking at the stick in the water. We are seeing the bend.
Yes. When things seem distorted or when time seems to lag, remind yourself, I am in the dense medium. The action has already happened. The result is on its way. Don't panic because of the refraction.
I like that. Don't panic because of the refraction. That's a bumper sticker.
I'd buy it, for sure.
All right, we're coming to the end of our session. Let's do a quick recap of the gold we found in these archives. I want to make sure we nail down the key takeaways for everyone.
Sure, I can break it down. So first,
All right, go for it.
The universe has 3 overlapping layers. You've got matter, you've got negative matter, which is like the blueprint, and you've got the dream universe.
Okay, 1. What's 2?
2, time lapses are just distortions. They're caused by the density of our physical reality. Lag, as we called it.
Right, the lag. Got it.
3, the spirit world has a sense of humor. They play pranks, they have inside jokes, and they really don't like substitute teachers messing up their lesson plans.
Chuckles.
4, the dream world is watching you back. It's not a one-way street. You are a participant in a two-way street of reality creation.
And finally.
And number 5, sometimes the cosmos just serves you a hamburger, and that's okay.
A perfect summary. Now, we owe a huge debt of gratitude to the source of all this mind-expanding material.
Absolutely. Everything we discussed today comes from the Seth material, specifically the early sessions, Book 3.
And we really need to credit the publisher, the New Awareness Network, for keeping these archives available. I mean, without them, this stuff would just be dusty notes in a Yale library somewhere.
So if this conversation sparked something in you, if you want to know more about negative matter or read the actual transcripts of Seth's jokes, you need to go to the source.
Don't just take our word for it. Dive in yourself, study the Seth material books, and visit the New Awareness Network website.
You can find them at sethcenter.com/Seth-Center-sessions. That's sethcenter.com/the early sessions.
Highly recommended. It's a rabbit hole, but it's the best kind of rabbit hole.
It certainly is.
Now, before we sign off, I want to leave you with a thought. A little parting gift for your brain to chew on while you try to sleep tonight.
Oh, I have a feeling I know where you're going with this.
We talked about the dream universe creating us as a byproduct. We talk about us being the dream of that reality. So here is the question.
Go for it.
If we are the dream, what happens to us when the dream world wakes up?
That is a terrifying and beautiful thought.
Does the dream end?
Grr.
Or do we become the dreamer?
I suppose we'll have to wait for the next session to find out.
Or figure it out ourselves? Thank you for listening to this deep dive. Keep your eyes open, both here and in the dream world.
And watch out for floating hamburgers.
Take care, everyone.